On Larry King Now, social media titan Dan Bilzerian.
Life is more about setup. You know, I wanted to like set it up so that I could get laid without like having a bunch of conversations and dates and whatnot. So when I'd have these pool parties, I'd have like 30 of my friends and then like 200 to 300 girls.
Do you ever think, Dan, to yourself that you're using them?
Not really, because both parties are benefiting.
You make your money from poker.
Yeah.
Why would people play with you?
Well, in the beginning, because they all thought that I was, you know, a rich trust fund idiot.
You think you're a good role model for young men?
Oh man, I've actually asked myself that.
Plus,
I do tons of charity that I don't really talk about. I mean, I'm never really doing interviews, but every one of my parties, I got, you know, these amputee guys coming, and I've taken them to club appearances, and so.
Get them girls too?
Yeah, I actually paid one chick to fuck one of these guys. I didn't tell them that. That's kind of fucked up, maybe, but.
Are there days you say, why did I do that?
Yeah, there are.
All next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. They call him the king of Instagram. Dan Bilzerian, a professional poker player and social media celebrity with 19 million Instagram followers. Famous for documenting his lavish lifestyle, Dan's online profile has earned him legions of fans and detractors alike. How did all this start for you?
So I kicked out of high school and joined the military, got out, went to college, and in college my brother taught me how to play poker, and went broke my sophomore year, and then started to figure it out, and kind of never looked back since. So.
And you played poker where?
Well, I started off online, and then like when I went broke, I went to this gambling boat. It was like this gambling boat. I think you had to be 5 miles offshore to be legal in Florida. So I took a boat to the boat and stayed there for about a week straight playing, and I made about $10,000, and then took that to Vegas, and I played for, I think it was like 3.5 weeks. Played every day, stayed at the Bellagio, and turned that into $187,000, and then flew back and started doing well.
So how did you get into this Instagram and women and guns? How did all that spread out from poker?
I guess like the Instagram thing, I was dating this one girl, and she was a Playboy Playmate, and she was really like proud of the fact that she had 100,000 Instagram followers, and at the time that was a lot, and she wanted to move to LA and kind of like pursue modeling. And I was just like, you know, I was happy to hang out in Vegas and travel and do that, but she really wanted to go to LA, so we ended up breaking up. And so I moved to LA, and I started playing a lot of these poker games, and it just, I don't know, kind of snowballed. Like I beat one guy for 54 million. And
54 million?
Yeah. So I just started, I don't know, I mean, it's kind of like a long story, but I just started doing all like the bucket list stuff. You know,
yeah, and one of the bucket lists is women.
Yeah.
And how did you get into all these things? Pictures with women, women crowding around you. For example, Femme magazine he said, he objectifies women on a mainstream platform, normalizing women as background rather than as actual human beings. In other words, you make women, according to them, props. Yeah,
I mean, I guess I said the same thing about Hugh Hefner, right? I don't know. I just take pictures and the women are there, so I don't know. I mean, it's all up to interpretation. I mean, people can.
What is your interpretation?
That, you know, I have a bunch of women hanging around.
How did that happen? Why do they hang around?
Okay, that's a pretty good question. I guess like it started in, I don't know, maybe like 2012. I kind of like figured out that life is more about setup. You know, I wanted to like set it up so that I could get laid without like having a bunch of conversations and dates and whatnot. So when I'd have these pool parties, I'd have like 30 of my friends, and you know,
male and female.
No, 30 of my guy friends, and then like 200 to 300 girls. And
how did all those girls get to go there?
You know, promoters, girls, you know, girls would invite girlfriends, and I had, you know, manicures, pedicures, masseuses, and, you know, full staff and everything. So the girls would just come there, hang out, and
was the purpose sex?
No, I mean, you know, you can't have sex with 300 girls. So the girls would come there because they wanted, you know, to hang out, drink, and not get harassed. And it was perfect for my, you know, buddies because, you know, it was like a 10-to-1 ratio. So the girls kind of had to compete for the guys, and we could just hang out, and girls would. It's like if a hot girl goes to a bar and she gets hit on 10 times, she can go home and sleep like a baby and not hook up with anybody. But if she goes to the bar and nobody pays attention to her and nobody talks to her, then she almost like has to like hook up with somebody to feel validated a little bit. So these are kind of situations where there's just so many girls that nobody was hitting on them, nobody was being aggressive, and the girls would like come to the guys. So it's kind of like a setup thing.
What do they think of you?
Depends on the girl.
What do you think they do?
I mean, usually girls that know me have a pretty high opinion of me, just because I'm always honest. You know, I'm not like a lot of the LA guys that sell them the dream, that tell them they love them, that tell them they're going to be monogamous, and, you know, promise them all this stuff. I just, you know, just keep it real.
How old are you?
I'm 35.
Someday, aren't you going to want to be, I mean, sex is okay 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 100 times. After 500 times, don't you get a little, want to settle down a little?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sometimes. I don't know, I feel like relationships are best when the guy wants to hang out with the girl and the girl wants to hang out with the guy. And it's not a forced situation. It's not the guy's hanging out with the girl because he feels obligated, or the girl's hanging out with the guy because she has to, because they're in a relationship. So when they're not doing anything, they just have to hang out. And I feel like it's just better when, you know, both people just choose to hang out because they want to.
Do you ever think, Dan, to yourself that you're using them?
Not really, because, you know, it's like a lot of situations in LA. It's like both parties are benefiting.
And you have 19 million followers?
Yeah, on Instagram. Yeah.
How do you make money? Do you make money on Instagram?
I mean, I could. You know, there's been tons of brands. You know, I've been offered over 100,000 for a post, and you know.
But you don't do it?
I kind of just don't want to turn my Instagram into like an addy commercial, like a lot of people do.
You make your money from poker.
Yeah.
Why would people play with you?
Well, in the beginning, because they all thought that I was, you know, a rich trust fund idiot, and I played pretty loose. I was one of the first people that played like real loose aggressive, so it was fun to play with.
Why do you like guns so much?
I don't know, I've just had them since I was like 6 years old.
What do you make of all the discussion about guns and so much? We are a gun-happy country and people killing people and...
Well, I mean, people are killing people all over the place, right? I mean, wasn't there just some guy that like ran into a bunch of people with a bus in Paris? And I mean, there's bombings and people killing people with knives, and I mean, people are dying all the time. I mean, you know, it's like...
Do you favor any aspect of gun control? You favor background checks?
Yeah, I mean, I think there should be background checks. You know, there's, you know, enough stupid people in the world. We definitely need to have some kind of precautionary measures. But I mean, there's more people that die, you know, from drunk driving and, you know, stuff like that. And
I guess you're supporting Trump, I guess? I'm guessing.
Between the two, definitely, yeah. I mean, you know, I don't agree with everything the guy does or says. One thing I do like is the fact that he's kind of raw and unfiltered, and he's not...
Does that scare you a little, too?
It does. It does. That honestly scares me less than these people that are just so politically correct and are just going to say whatever they're supposed to say. And I guess I just would rather somebody, even if I don't agree with his opinion, give it to me straight.
Apparently a lot of people are feeling that way.
Well, I mean, she's not a very good candidate, so I think some people are going to vote for him by default. So.
Our guest is Dan Bilzerian. Up next, Dan on his dad and his recent philanthropic efforts. Is there a softer side of Dan Bilzerian? We'll find out after the break. We're back with Dan Bilzerian. We can safely say there's no one like him. He's been called a misogynist. Do you think you're misunderstood?
Yeah, certainly.
And that you're polarizing. You realize that people, there's no gray with you.
Yeah, there's no dispute.
Black or white.
It's kind of always been like that, though. You know, love or hate.
You think you're a good role model for young men?
Oh, man, I've actually asked myself that. Probably not as a net, but there's some good and bad, yeah.
What's the most money you ever won in a game?
In one session, $10.8 million.
Do you lose?
I do, yes. I wish
What's your worst day?
It's weird. I've had one biggest loss, and I've had it 3 times. I lost $3.6 million 3 different occasions.
You said you're worth $100 million. Is that all poker?
I actually never really made that claim, but no, I don't know where they get these statistics, but I mean, I think I made maybe like 60, 70 million one year. I don't know.
Your father was a corporate takeover specialist. He went to jail for his business practice. He was Paul Bilzerian. Did you get a trust from him?
I did, but I gave it to my brother.
What's your brother do?
He is a family guy, and he plays poker, but he does business stuff. He got his MBA. We're kind of polar opposites.
Are you a good uncle?
When I'm around, I am.
Is it your younger brother?
Yeah, younger brother.
How did your dad go into prison affect you?
It was pretty rough. Actually, I'll never forget the day because it was, front page news for all the newspapers, but I didn't know. So the litigation was going on for about a year, and he chose to wait till the actual day that he went to tell me. He actually drove me into school, which is weird because he never drove me in. And he told me on the ride to school, which is pretty shitty because everybody in school knew it was like front page news. And the reason he didn't tell me because that was like the last day of his appeal. So, he was always like this eternal optimist, and I'm just like, now looking at him, I'm just like, look, if you're playing a game and all the umpires like don't like you or they're working for the other team, you're just never going to win.
What's he doing now?
I think he's a St. Kitts citizen, and I think he gave up his U.S. citizenship.
You don't talk to him?
No, I do. I talk to him probably 4 or 5 times a year.
What's the biggest risk Dan's taken? We'll talk about that and his Navy SEAL training right after this. We're back with the king of Instagram, Dan Bilzerian. He is a professional poker player, a social media celebrity, 19 million followers. You're no stranger to controversy. You were sued twice for allegedly kicking a woman in the face at a nightclub. Throwing a porn star off your roof. Did you do that?
Okay, so...
Come on, Dan, did you do that?
No, I'll give you the exact truth. I was at a nightclub, and I had one girl that I flew down that I used to date, but decided that, we should just be friends because she wanted a relationship. And I had another girl that I'd been sleeping with for a couple years that was living with her boyfriend. So she was kind of like my actual date, but I couldn't be seen with her. So I had the other girl that I could like take to events because we were at Art Basel. And they were both standing there, and I was here. And this one girl turns to the girl next to me, call her my fake date, and said, like, I want you to move. Like, you can't stand next to him all night. And she's like, well, I came here with him. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I can stand here. She's like, well, you can't just like hog him all night. Like, I want to talk to him and this and that. She's like, well, I came here with him. Like, I'm not moving. And so the girl, rather than like discuss it or anything, punches her in the face, like right in the eye, gives her a black eye, then grabs her by the hair and rips her off the stage, goes off the stage with her 5 feet down, and then starts punching her. So
what'd you do?
Well, I mean, I did what I had to do. I got the girl off my girl, and I grabbed my girl and brought her back up on the stage. And it was just like one of those things where
But you didn't hit anybody.
I mean, look, my girl is getting attacked unprovoked by another girl. So
you defend her.
So I got the girl off of her.
And what about the porn star off the roof?
So that was a shoot for Hustler, and so they wanted me to actually throw her over my head into the pool. And I was like, well, I don't know, that doesn't seem too safe. And the girl's like, oh, I want to do it, I want to do it.
She wanted to do it.
Yeah, she was, she was ecstatic. And I was like, okay, like, here's how it's going to go. We did like a dry run. And even in the video, you can see, I'm just like, okay, we're going to do it on 3, and you have to let go of me. Because that was like the one thing. Like, if she hung on to me, it probably wasn't going to work. So did the dry run. She was ready. She was excited. You can see her in the video. She throws her hands up. And on 3, so on 2, she throws her hands up, right? And on 3, she decides for some weird reason to grab the back of my shirt. And if you know anything about fabric, if you grab the center of somebody's shirt to rip out an 8-inch circle, like not on the seam, I mean, it takes a lot of force. So when I go to throw her on the number 3, she grabs onto me and almost pulls me off the roof. I mean, thank God I threw as hard as I could because, she barely cleared the thing. But yeah, the accident was 100% her fault. I mean, she just had to not hang on.
She had the fabric in her hand?
Yeah, she literally, I mean, I have the shirt to this day. She literally ripped out an 8-inch thing and so I guess she clipped her foot. And, I asked her, I said, do you want to go to the hospital? Like, are you okay? And she's like, no, I'm fine. I don't need to go to the hospital. And then, apparently, 3 days later, she got, some seedy attorney who had sued there's like a laundry list of celebrities that he sued. And so then all of a sudden, she goes on TMZ and, according to her, she can't work, even though on Twitter she had 3 dicks in her.
Where does it stand now?
2 days later. Now we went to court, we battled it out. And so it's done, it's settled.
Is there things you do you don't like about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody does, right? I mean,
you have a charity, though, called Wishes for Warriors. What does it do?
Well, I can't take credit for the charity. It's a charity that I donate to, and, I've given money.
For victims of the war?
Basically, yeah, it's combat veterans that have been injured in combat. And, people, some guys lost their legs, some guys are triple amputees. And so I just, I've always had a soft spot for people that, defending their country have been injured. So I mean, I've invited these guys to my party. I do tons of charity that I don't really talk about. I mean, I'm never really doing interviews, but every one of my parties, I got these amputee guys coming, and I've taken them to club appearances, and so.
Get them girls too?
Yeah, I actually paid one chick to fuck one of these guys. I didn't tell him that. That's kind of fucked up, maybe. But anyways, yeah, he got laid by this super hot chick, and it was funny. I'll never forget it, because we were at the breakfast table, and I had forgotten. I was pretty hungover, and I remember looking over at this guy, and he's smiling, and I just look at him, I'm like, fuck, man, I really respect that you got such a good attitude, And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, fuck, you got your legs blown off. I was like, that's amazing, you know what I mean? That you're just like, fuck, you've just always been cool, you've always been happy every time I'm hanging out with you, And he said to me, he's like, losing my legs is the best thing that ever happened to me. And I was just like, what? And he's like, yeah, he's like, if I hadn't have gotten, my legs blown off, he's like, I'd be in some dirt hole in Iraq, and I'd be miserable, and nobody'd give a fuck about me. And when I came home, I'd just be, another guy living in Idaho. And he's like, now I'm getting paid to motivate people, and I'm inspiring people. He's like, and I'm partying here with you.
And last night.
And he's like, and I had sex with a super hot chick. And I'm just like, fuck, man, that's awesome, And at that moment, I just realized perspective is just so important, because it's just.
Dan, you help so many in so many ways. Now, is it true you suffered multiple heart attacks?
Yeah.
How many?
2.
I had one. One was enough.
Yeah, the second one was right after. So. Do
you worry about longevity?
No, not too much. That was when I was 25. Which is pretty young to have a heart attack. Yeah.
Did you have bypass surgery?
No. They said it was just the drugs.
We're going to play a little game of If You Only Knew. I just throw some questions at you. Okay. I don't think you'll have a problem with it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Childhood celebrity crush?
Probably Pamela Anderson.
Current celebrity crush?
I don't know. Who are hot chicks? That Emily Ratajkowski chick's pretty hot.
Yeah. Do you have any role models or mentors?
There's definitely a lot of people I look up to.
Is Hugh Hefner a hero to you?
I definitely have a lot of respect for the guy. I mean, yeah, he's kind of iconic. As a kid, I always looked up to him.
What's your guilty pleasure? With you, what could be?
I don't really feel a lot of guilt. I have a lot of pleasure
about anything, do you?
I mean, no, I definitely do. I just.
Are there days you say, "Why did I do that?"
Yeah, there are. There's a lot of days.
What's something people get wrong about you?
I think a lot of people think that I'm just fucked up all the time, like I'm drinking all the time, or.
Do you drink a lot?
No, I really don't. No, I actually don't drink too much at all. It's just, for me.
You got too much to pay attention to.
Well, I always for me, it was I always went out to get laid, and so a lot of guys when they go out, they need to drink so that they're more relaxed and they can pick up chicks, but I just got to a point where I just didn't really have to work at all.
How many times do you think you've had sex at age 35?
I mean, thousands of times, yeah.
What are you embarrassed to admit you watch or enjoy?
I'm not really too embarrassed of much. I just always just put my cards on the table and just accept me for who I am type of
Do you have a secret talent?
Not that I can think. I mean, most of my stuff's pretty wide open.
What was the last time you cried?
My dad got into a motorcycle accident, and I remember crying then.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
I guess probably immortality, maybe.
Yeah, that's not bad. Biggest risk you've ever taken?
I guess there's been multiple times where I kind of just like put all my money on the table and gamble with like every dollar I had. Pretty big risk.
Do you act the same whether you win or lose?
No, absolutely not.
You smile when you win and you look sad when you lose?
I actually don't really get that happy when I win, but I get super fucking pissed off when I lose. Like even if it's the weirdest thing. Like sometimes I've gotten more irritated over losing $5,000 or $10,000 than when I've lost like $500,000.
You're a bad loser.
A horrible loser.
Dan will answer your social media questions in our final segment. We've never met anyone quite like him. Don't go away. We're back with Dan Bilzerian. What a guy. 19 million followers. Just launched a fantasy sports app called Blitz Fantasy. What is it?
Basically, you pick your players and you can kind of bet against other people, and the last legal form of
all these things going around now.
Same thing as a lot of the FanDuel, DraftKings type of thing.
Did you launch a line of emojis that were banned from the App Store?
It didn't last long.
What were they?
Well, I mean,
obscene.
Yeah, there was a lot of fucked up stuff. I mean, there was like, snorting coke off a girl's tits. I think there was actually even a goat having sex with a girl. I didn't even make some of these emojis. Some of them were even so fucked up that I was like, wow, I can't believe the App Store approved that.
Someone designed them for you.
Well, I designed some of them, and then, I didn't design the goat having sex with the girl one. I didn't say no to it, but I didn't think of that. I can't take credit for that one.
What do you think you're famous for? Why do people follow you? 19 million. Why do you think they follow you?
Well, because I just kind of did what most people would want to do, I feel like, if they won the lottery, and I kind of lived like an asshole for a while. And
do you like women?
Yeah, of course I like women. It'd be kind of crazy to surround yourself with people you hate, right?
You don't think you use them?
I mean, like I said before, I think there's, girls. I feel like a lot of times girls are using me. Like a lot of times girls use me to get back at their boyfriends or to piss off an ex, or I get used all the time. It's kind of crazy, but I can't really get too upset about it.
We have a couple of questions from our vast audience. Lawrence Stearns tweets, do you drink stem cell smoothies for breakfast?
She doesn't know too much about stem cells. I get them injected. I've gone for 2 treatments. And
did it help?
Yeah. The first time I took it, I had kind of a crazy experience. It seemed like it turned me into like fucking Wolverine from the X-Men, because I had like some dental surgery for I had a root canal, and they injected me with 25 vials of Novocaine, and it just cycled through my system, just like boom, boom, boom. And then I distinctly remember going to the gym like 4 days later, and I was 25% stronger, which, if you know anything about working out, that's like a crazy thing.
Goodrich Gavard tweets, how often do you let yourself be vulnerable?
Definitely not that often. Not often enough.
Mesh Roldan tweets, do you have people sign NDAs to be your friend?
I have people sign NDAs just walk into my house. Yeah.
Dallas Oliver wants to know whether or not blatantly flaunting excess has made you any happier as a human being, or if you need to outdo yourself has only contributed to being insecure.
Well, the one thing about spending a lot of money is and doing a lot of like pleasure buying is that it just ups that bar. So in order to kind of like, when I got out of the military, for instance, going to Outback Steakhouse was like a 10, right? So now I can't get to a 10 anymore. If I go to the best restaurant in the world, I'm like at a 6. So I can't really like buy pleasure too much anymore. And that's why I think a lot of people say that, being rich makes you unhappy, is because before, like, if you're a poor guy, you can buy happiness for sure. Like, if I buy any poor guy a Lamborghini, he's gonna be fucking happy. You know what I'm saying? If I take him to the nicest restaurant in the world, he's gonna be happy. For me, I'm just like, whatever. Those things don't raise the bar.
Are you generous with your friends?
Yeah, I'm more generous with poor people, but yeah.
You're not cheap.
Definitely not cheap.
Aaron Barlow, do you ever just want to settle down?
Sometimes. At the end of a long weekend, maybe.
Ronnie Franchise, what's the largest bet you ever made?
I mean, I played poker in a game where I had $18 million in front of me, and the other guy had that, and if he said all in, I had to make a decision for $18 million. So that's like pretty big gambling.
And what happened?
Some of my hair fell out, but I ended up winning. I beat him for $7 million that pot at maybe $8 million, but he ended up folding for the last like 10, which is crazy.
Eddie Taconis, is there anything you haven't done you want to do?
Yeah, there is. I would like to row across the Atlantic Ocean.
Row?
Yeah, I told a buddy of mine I bet him $5 million that I could do that. And
row?
Yeah, a boat.
A rowboat?
Yeah, a rowboat. It's been done before. It's like less time than people have been in space, but people have done it. Yeah. Yeah, I told him I bet him $5 million that I could solo row across the Atlantic Ocean.
When are you going to do this?
Well, I don't know. If he says yes, then I'm doing it. So.
Thanks, man. Thanks to my guest, Dan Bilzerian. As always, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things. I'll see you next time.